there, we are back. Welcome along to Transfer Talk. Remember, you can tweet the show at Sky Sports News using the hashtag Transfer Talk. Plenty on the way this lunchtime, including Arsenal fans. It looks like Laurent Koscielny may have played his last game for you, the latest on his future, and an update on potential incomings. Manuel Pellegrini is closing in on signing a new striker. He's on his way to London. We will tell you who it is very shortly. And it is a very happy birthday to Gareth Bale. And you are our focus on stay or go. No. Should he stay? It's been a long day. Should he stay at Real Madrid or make the move elsewhere? Let us know what you think.
Yes, plus why has Ethan Ampadu been left out of Chelsea's pre-season tour? We'll fill you in on all the details. Remember, this is your show. Plenty of ways to get involved. Use the hashtag TransferTalk.
Right, we're going to start with the very latest from Arsenal and the situation regarding Laurent Koscielny. And JD, it's looking increasingly likely that he may have played his last game for the club.
Yeah, what we do understand so far is that Arsenal have now opened negotiations in terms of looking to sell Laurent Koscielny as long as their valuation is met. The club have opened internal disciplinary proceedings against the player, obviously, as we know last week, for him not going on the pre-season tour with the club. So at this stage, you have to look with 1 year left in his contract and Koscielny looking to force a move to France. It looks like the club are going to find a resolution in terms of Laurent Koscielny looking to have played his last game for the club. But what's interesting is what that Emery actually said about Koscielny. I mean, after last night's game when their pre-season tour had opened up against Colorado, he actually was quoted in saying, for me as a coach, he's an important player still. And now it's a matter for him and the club to kind of deal with. So it looks like maybe there is still optimism in terms of Emery's eyes, where he still looks at Koscielny as still part of his proceedings going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you if it was a foregone conclusion, but it doesn't sound like it is completely done and dusted. I suppose they won't struggle for a club to come in and meet that valuation, though.
Naturally. I mean, he's an Asian player, but he's still a player that can provide a lot of experience. So regardless of what Arsenal's evaluation would be, they still have to take into consideration the fact that he's in his final year of his contract. And someone that's also openly saying that he wants to leave the club. So all of these factors would be taken into consideration before any bid is accepted.
Yeah, well,
it's a real shame, this one, isn't it? You know, he's been such a loyal servant to Arsenal. He's been superb since he joined in 2010. He's been influential in everything that's happened. He's obviously won FA Cups. He hasn't really gathered the silverware that perhaps his performances have deserved. But the fact that it's ending in this way, this sour note, and that's what I think hurts most Arsenal fans, is the way that it's all come about. So close to the window ending, particularly when they're desperately crying out for centre-halves of quality, which he is. For it to all finish this way is really sad, really.
Yeah. You're right, because Arsenal as a club, you kind of have to look at it. Your longest-serving player, your club captain, your most experienced player as well, and probably the heartbeat of that football club, who can bring on all the fundamentals that were taught to him beforehand and is probably teaching that to the next generation, is now openly saying that he wants to leave the club. That's never a good sign for any sort of dressing room or changing room, as they say.
I think it's one thing openly saying you want to leave the club, but refusing to go on the pre-season tour. I don't think that sends out a particularly good message to the fans, to the club, and to people that are looking up to him as a player as well. So I think, how can he stay, really, if he's gone against the club's wishes and he just hasn't turned up for the pre-season tour? It would be a shame if it doesn't end well, as you say, the club's longest-serving player and the club captain. But once that happens, I don't really see how you go back there, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Arsenal fans, make sure you tell us what you think as well. Hashtag TransferTalk on Twitter. And let's just bring you another transfer line from Arsenal. We understand that they're interested in Gremio forward Evertons Suarez. That's according to Sky sources. The player claims he has an offer on the table, although won't say from which club. Suarez seen as a more financially viable option than Crystal Palace forward Wilfried Zaha. So it seems it's Suarez over Zaha. What do you make of that?
I think, obviously, you have to look at the financial constraints that Arsenal are under, and Arsenal have been very open about how much they've had to spend in this market and what they're willing to do. Now, Bridgie, as you turned around and noted throughout the window, Arsenal and Palace are miles away, in terms of roughly about £60 million away from what the valuation they see each player at. So you have to look at that negotiations now and turn around and say, maybe it's come to a closed door, possibly, and maybe you have to look at alternative options. Now, recency bias will turn around and say to you, looking at the Copa America, look, Suarez was a good player, and man of the match in the final as well. So he would look at it like, well, one man's opportunity I will be able to take, possibly.
Yeah, I mean, I've always questioned just how much Arsenal want Wilfried Zaha, and they'd have to pay big money, looking around the £80 million. And there was an agreement with Crystal Palace that they'd only consider it really if the club who wanted to buy him was in the Champions League. It just looks something that is going to be extremely difficult. It was interesting that Wilfried posted yesterday on Instagram. Looks like he is back in the UK, obviously. He's got some time off after the African Cup of Nations. But, yes, he does look like more of an option. He's a bit like Zaha as well, obviously very exciting as well. And as JD said, potentially a cheaper option.
Yeah, and Michael Suarez, not the only deal that Arsenal are in for. What's the latest with the stories that we've been touching on in recent weeks?
Could be a North London tug of war here. Close to agreeing a deal, Arsenal, with Saint Etienne defender William Saliba. Saint Etienne ideally want him back on loan. And then on Friday afternoon, we told you that Tottenham are actually talking to him as well, close to a deal. And it might actually be up to the player where he wants to go. Now, I thought Arsenal had pretty much sealed this deal, so it came as a bit of a surprise to everyone after hearing reports in France and the reports we got as well that Tottenham came in for him. So, yeah, a North London tug of war, but who needs him most? It depends on Tottenham with Toby Alderweireld, because if he stays, I think Tottenham might sway at someone else. And just in terms of importance, because I look at Arsenal and think they really do need a centre-half, but it's the option of the loan back as well, which interests me. Also, it could just come down to the player. Who does he want to join, and what are the incentives he's been given?
It's quite an interesting one, that one. And another one that's going to be interesting throughout the course of this transfer window is, of course, the Kieran Tierney line. Now, our understanding here at Sky is that, once again, a bid has been rejected by Celtic. The deal would have been worth up to £25 million. But Celtic were unhappy with the way that the deal was structured, and they want more cash up front for Tierney, who they see as their best player and biggest asset. The Scottish champions are reluctant to let go of someone who's been so influential for them over the last few years. So that's another Arsenal transfer that could rumble on for the next few weeks, because an important player for Celtic, but how much do Arsenal really want him? And once again, the difficulties with the finance would allude to the bigger problem that Arsenal don't have a lot of money to play with in this window.
This is classic Arsenal, isn't it, really? We look back at the Luis Suarez situation when the £40 million release clause in his contract, so they bid £40 million and £1. Like, it just seems like when it comes to these negotiations, you have to ask yourself how shrewd and how collected are you being? Like, really and truly, at this stage, Celtic laid out what their asking price was, so I'm not really understanding why there is a difficulty in negotiation if you really want the player.
Yeah.
But would Tierney really want to go as well? Obviously, with Laurent Koscielny potentially off, then there's that leadership kind of qualities that they're potentially lacking. So he could be taking that role on. So it'd be interesting to see whether he would want to go, because Celtic, Scottish champions, could they go again next season? Looking fairly likely. So, yeah, it would be interesting to see what he would want to do anyway.
Yeah, well, indeed. We will no doubt be talking about Arsenal over the next few weeks. Plenty of you getting in touch on Twitter. We want you to get involved at Sky Sports News. Use that hashtag transfer talk. Samuel Stanley's got in touch. He says desperate action needed from Arsenal before this window closes. Koscielny does not deserve to be captain after his actions. So, yeah, Stanley does not want Koscielny to stay. He doesn't think there's any way back. But, yeah, let us know what you think about everything that we're talking about. As I said, hashtag transfer talk. We're also going to be finishing off our free agent 11. The striker is the position that we're going to fill. Let us know what your thoughts are on that. But let's check in with the state of play and cross to Dave.
Yeah, pressure's on for that striker position, let me tell you. We're going to talk about Gareth Bale a little bit later in the show as well. This is what is happening elsewhere today in the transfer market. We've been told Inter Milan are expected to make a new offer of £60 million plus bonuses for Manchester United striker Romelu Lukaku this week. The proposal, which Inter hope would be structured over 2 or 3 years, is for a permanent deal with bonuses designed to help the Serie A club get closer to United's valuation. We understand Manchester United target Harry Maguire has told Leicester manager Brendan Rodgers he wants to leave this window. Both United and City are interested in Maguire, but it would take a world record fee for a defender to get him. Chelsea manager Frank Lampard has confirmed that Ethan Ampadu is set to go on loan this season and reveals he's tried to sign the 18-year-old for Derby last season. We wait for an update on that situation. Eintracht Frankfurt striker Sebastian Haller is on his way to London right now for a West Ham medical. The deal is thought to be worth £45 million. Norwich have confirmed the signing of Sam Byram from West Ham. It's a £750,000 fee. He is their 4th signing of the summer and signs a 4-year deal. Remember, West Ham signed him for £4 million from Leeds back in 2016. We understand 4 clubs are in for Fulham midfielder Jean-Michel Seri, and a development on his future is expected in the next few days. The 27-year-old wants to leave England this summer and is currently mulling over his next move while on holiday following the Africa Cup of Nations. Meanwhile, at Fulham, Sky sources say they're in talks for the Bristol City Republic of Ireland international midfielder Callum O'Dowda. He's been stalling on a new contract. Bristol City want £8 million. At the moment, Fulham say that is too much.
Well, Dave mentioned him there, and the breaking news we brought you on Good Morning Transfers was that Sebastian Haller is on his way to West Ham for that medical ahead of a reported £45 million move. Frankfurt confirmed the deal has been agreed. Michael, what do we know about the player?
They're getting a very, very good player. Firstly, we know they tried to get Maxi Gomez, but there was always that feeling at West Ham that he wanted to stay in Spain and join Valencia despite added financial incentives. But he's staying in Spain. They've gone straight for Haller, and I said yesterday, credit to West Ham. They have this shortlist of players. If they can't get one, they go for another. But believe me, Haller isn't like a second choice. He's a very, very highly regarded striker. He was a partner of Luka Jovic last season, who joined Real Madrid. But it was Haller who got more of the percentage of goals, 40% of goals he was involved with for Frankfurt. 15 goals and 9 assists. He's 6'3", but it doesn't mean he's a target man. You can tell that by the 9 assists as well. He's an old-school centre forward, but not a route one. He's excellent on the ball and creates plenty of opportunities for his teammates. I get the feeling this could be a real top signing for West Ham.
Do you know what's interesting about West Ham is the Maxi Gomez thing hasn't come to fruition. So guess what? They've gone and got their second target, if he is their second target. The way they've handled themselves in the transfer window suggests that there's a clear plan there. They know the players they want, and they're going out to get them. And guess what? They're going to compete.
Yeah, I think they're shopping in a good store at the moment. These are decent, top players. Luka Jovic, as a partner, he's just gone to Real Madrid. He was involved in more goals last season. I'd be excited if I was a West Ham supporter at the moment.
Are you not questioning the fee at all? I mean, I know he's a proven goal scorer in both the top divisions in both the Dutch league and the German league, but are you telling me you're not questioning the fee at all? £45 million is a lot of money.
I think you could question the fee for every player.
Every fee this summer. I mean, it's interesting. You're absolutely right. But if he's someone they look at as on that periphery of a top striker, that's what they would have paid for Maxi Gomez. It is a massive wait-and-see job at the moment, but if they keep their best players, Felipe Anderson, looks like they're getting a pretty good 11 there at the moment.
Yeah, and mentioning West Ham are going to compete. Alice, West Ham, do you see them as real competitors going into the new season?
Yeah, and I think they handled the whole Marko Arnautovic saga really well, because they showed that no player is bigger than the club. If he is going to potentially, or as he did, throw his toys out the pram, but, you know, show himself up a little bit. And that note, I think they made it very clear that they have, Pellegrini has a very clear idea of what he wants to achieve next season. And, yeah, with signings like this, I think, yeah, it's going to be looking fairly good.
I think the West Ham thing, it kind of excites you again for that next run of Premier League sides. You know, you look at the way Leicester are spending, you look at the way West Ham are spending, obviously Everton again with Fabian Delph coming in. Suddenly, you've got the top 6. But the next 3 or 4 teams are all just on the periphery of that top 6, and you feel like there might be an upset in that top 6 this season, and West Ham could be one of them.
Pellegrini and Silva are managers who want to be in Europe. They want to play in it. They're used to being in Europe, these managers. They want to get in there, and this is why it'll be really competitive this season.